Children in Stoic Men Tribe. Today we're tapping into a powerful truth, a moment of inner strength, sharp clarity, and timeless wisdom. Don't skip any part of this video, share your thoughts in the comment. Please do us a favor by hitting the subscribe button, like, and turn on notifications, so you never miss an update. Let's break it down. You are the chosen one. This is why you didn't walk through fire for nothing. You didn't survive heartbreaks, betrayals, breakdowns, and silent battles just to end up average. You didn't hold yourself together in the dark when no one saw, when no one clapped, when no one cared, just to live a life that doesn't honor the depth of your soul. You are the chosen one. And this is exactly why. You don't feel life like others do. You don't skim the surface. You dive headfirst into emotion, into thought, into meaning. You ache for truth in a world addicted to pretending. You long for substance in a society obsessed with the superficial. And sometimes that depth feels like a burden, because people don't always understand what they're not willing to feel. You've never truly fit into the molds, not because you're broken, not because you're strange, but because you were never made to shrink yourself into places that couldn't hold your potential. You've always sensed it, even as a child, that something about you was different. Not louder, not brighter, but deeper. You were not chosen by trends, not chosen by the crowd, not chosen by the world's fleeting applause. You were chosen by fire, by pain that purified instead of destroyed, by wounds that didn't close until they bloomed into wisdom, by nights that didn't end until you became your own light. You were chosen in the silence, when you sat with your own thoughts and didn't run, when you cried but didn't quit, when you questioned everything but still chose to continue. You were chosen when you had every reason to turn bitter, and instead you softened into someone stronger. You were chosen in the moment you finally saw your scars, not as shameful proof of damage, but as sacred proof of survival. And now, you're becoming. Yes, you are still becoming. Every time you rise with clarity after confusion, every time you choose love over retaliation, every time you keep going without the praise, you're proving that you were chosen not for comfort, but for something eternal. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is what sets you apart. Because while the world runs in circles trying to manage everything outside, you've begun mastering everything within. You're learning, moment by moment, breath by breath, that your true power has never been control over others, but the calm command over your own thoughts, emotions, and responses. That's your real edge. That's the kind of strength that doesn't shake when the world does. While others are scrambling for applause, you're seeking alignment. While others crave validation, you've built sanctuary in your solitude. While others run from silence because it feels like emptiness, you've walked into it and found truth waiting for you there. You're not led by the noise. You're not driven by trends. You're not molded by fear. You are guided by something ancient, something eternal. A wisdom born not from books, but from your darkest hours. A knowing that came from sitting with yourself when the world offered no answers. A strength forged in the silence no one else saw. They don't see the battles you fought just to show up each day. They don't know the nights you wept but still rose in the morning. They don't understand how you've had to unlearn everything just to hear your own voice again. But you do, and that's enough. You've become your own compass. You've stopped looking outside for direction because you've learned. The map was always inside of you. Now you don't move to be seen. You move to be in alignment. You don't speak to be heard. You speak when your soul says it's time. And when others chase the world, you return to yourself. Because you've come to understand. You were chosen not for ease, but for impact. You were chosen not to blend in, but to awaken others by example. You were chosen to stand in truth, even when it costs you comfort, convenience, and company. And that truth it will carry you farther than approval ever could. So if you've ever felt out of place, too intense, too quiet, too different, remember, it's not because you're broken, it's because you're chosen. You are the one they'll never understand until they watch you rise in silence, on purpose, led not by the world, but by the fire that's been burning in you all along. You were being prepared, not punished. Søren Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism, once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." And if you look back, truly look, you'll start to realize something. Nothing that broke you was random. Nothing that confused you, shattered you, silenced you, was without purpose. The nights you didn't know how to keep going, the people who left without explanation, the versions of yourself you had to bury just to breathe again, all of it had meaning. Even the chaos had structure. Even the silence had instructions hidden within it. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared for the version of you that could finally see life through clear eyes. Prepared to walk without needing the world's approval as a crutch. Prepared to let go of your need to be understood. And instead to seek understanding of your own soul. You now understand. Not every chapter needs closure. Some chapters need distance. Some people need to remain in your past. Some answers don't need to be found. They need to be released. And now, you've grown. You've stepped into the deeper questions. You've stopped begging the world to make sense. And instead, you've started making yourself whole. Seneca, the great Roman Stoic, once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And you're done wasting. Wasting time explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. Wasting your energy trying to make others comfortable with your evolution. Wasting your light trying to dim it down for rooms that were never meant to hold you. You've come to see the truth. Time is sacred. Moments are sacred. You can't afford to keep shrinking so others don't feel small. You can't keep editing your soul for a world that rewards masks more than authenticity. So now you've made a decision. One that doesn't need to be announced, just honored. You're choosing to build, not beg. Build your inner world. Build your discipline. Build your peace, brick by brick, away from noise and empty praise. You're choosing to rise, not react. You no longer move just because something triggered you. You move because something called you higher. You move because stillness taught you what chaos never could. You're choosing to evolve, not explain. You've realized that transformation doesn't require a press release. Your growth doesn't need applause to be real. Your becoming is valid, even if no one claps, even if no one notices. Because the truth is, your life isn't about proving, it's about living. It's about living intentionally, deliberately, with reverence for each breath, each hour, each hard-earned lesson. And now you know. You weren't just surviving the past. You were studying it. You were collecting fragments. You were being shaped into someone the old you would barely recognize. You aren't bitter. You're awake. You're aligned. You're aware of your worth in ways no storm could ever strip away. There's a reason life hasn't broken you. A reason you keep rising, even when everything in you wants to give up. A reason you've been tested in ways others can't imagine. It's not coincidence. It's not random. It's because you were never made to live an ordinary story. You were meant to carry weight others could not. You were meant to see truth in a world that hides behind illusion. You were meant to lead, not with noise, but with presence. Not with titles, but with quiet strength. You weren't chosen because life would be easy for you. You were chosen because even in the chaos, you would find clarity. Even in the darkness, you would become the light. The pain you've endured, it wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken something powerful within you. A voice, a fire, a purpose. You feel things deeply. You notice what others miss. You question everything because you were never meant to follow blindly. You were made to break patterns, to end cycles, to change the story. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be, before the world tried to silence you, shape you, shrink you. You've been refined by struggle, sharpened by betrayal, strengthened by solitude. And now it's time to rise. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove yourself right. To step into the identity you've always sensed was waiting. Not just a survivor, not just a fighter, but a force. You weren't just born, you were sent. You're not here by chance. You're here on purpose. And every step, every scar, every moment has been preparing you for what comes next. You were meant to rise. You were meant to lead. You were meant to remember who you are. You were not chosen because life spared you. You were chosen because it tested you, relentlessly, painfully, and without warning. Not once, not twice, but over and over, until you either broke or became something unbreakable. You see, the chosen are rarely obvious. They don't walk around seeking praise, applause, or validation. They carry storms inside them that no one else sees. They've been through nights so long that even hope forgot their name. And yet, they rise. Not with grand speeches, not with loud declarations, but with quiet, relentless endurance. You were chosen not because the path would be easy, but because there's something in you that was forged for difficulty. Something in you that bends but never shatters. That doubts but never gives up. That cries but still shows up the next morning, ready to try again. And that is sacred. The world won't always understand your strength. They won't see the 1,000 silent battles you fought. They'll only see the calm on your face, never the war in your soul. They'll see your discipline and call it luck. They'll see your grace and assume it's easy, but they won't know the price you paid to carry yourself with that kind of quiet power. You were not chosen to be liked. You were chosen to be solid, to stand firm in a world that shifts like sand, to carry wisdom in a time of noise, to love deeply even after betrayal, to stay kind even after cruelty, to be light in a place where others gave into darkness. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You are the one who turned obstacles into wisdom, pain into fuel, loneliness into strength. You became the path, not just for yourself, but for others who are still finding their way. So when you doubt why you feel so different, why your soul aches in rooms that feel too shallow, why you crave depth, meaning, truth, and silence, it's because you are not like the rest. You are the chosen one, not because it's glamorous, but because you were given the kind of soul that refuses to stay down. You don't just survive, you evolve. And through that evolution, you become a mirror for others, a reminder of what it means to rise with grace, to suffer with dignity, to speak with purpose, to walk with intention. So keep going, not because it's easy, but because your existence is proof that resilience is real. And your life, it's not just a story of survival, it's a prophecy of transformation. You were chosen for this, and you are becoming everything you were meant to be. You weren't chosen to be understood. You were never meant to fit neatly into the boxes they built out of fear and routine. You weren't called to blend in. You were called to awaken, to remember who you are beneath the noise, the masks, the smallness, to rise from the slumber of imitation and stand fully, fiercely out in your own soul. You were chosen to see through what others ignore, to hear the quiet voice beneath the chaos, to walk a path few even dare to recognize, let alone follow, to lead not with force but with presence, to embody something sacred, something real, in a world that worships the artificial. So let them question you, let them misunderstand your silence, let them twist your truth and label your light. Let them wonder how you keep standing when the weight should have crushed you, how you continue to rise when they swore you were finished. And you, keep walking, with grace, with patience, with fire in your chest and peace in your eyes. not because the world gave you permission, but because your soul gave you instruction. Keep building, keep tending to the unseen foundations. Keep watering your roots where no one applauds, because you know that depth matters more than display. You are not building for applause, you are building for eternity. Keep becoming, not the version they want, but the version you were destined to be before the world told you who to become, because you are the chosen one. Not chosen to be worshipped, but chosen to withstand. To walk through storms and still hold the sun in your chest. To lose parts of yourself and still remember your name. To carry pain without becoming it. To bleed and still believe. Your life, your pain, your presence, your silence is not a mystery. It's a message. A message that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just breathes and keeps showing up. As the ancient Stoic Epictetus once wrote, difficulties show a person's character. So when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler whom the gods have matched with a tough opponent. For what purpose? To turn you into Olympic champion. That's who you are. You weren't chosen to be understood. You were chosen to endure, to rise, to awaken, to lead with light in a time where the world forgets how to see. And your scars? They are sacred scripture. Proof that you've walked through fire and still chose to shine. Keep walking, even when the path grows narrow and no one walks beside you. Even when the lights dim and shadows stretch long across your soul. Even when every step feels like a whisper into the void. Because you weren't called to be popular. You were called to be purposeful. Walk not for validation, but for revelation. Because in every step you take through solitude, you carve a deeper space for truth to rise. And the truth is this: every storm you've endured, every heartbreak you've survived, every night you held yourself together when no one else could, it wasn't for nothing. It was shaping you, molding you, preparing you for something sacred. Keep building, not just with your hands, but with your silence, with your character, with your restraint. Build with the bricks they threw at you. Build with the lessons that came wrapped in betrayal, disappointment, and delay. Build with intention, because the foundation you're laying is not just for you. It's for those who will walk the road behind you. You are not just constructing a life, you are constructing an example. Proof that quiet power exists. Proof that discipline is louder than drama. That inner peace is more profound than external praise. And that those who build in the dark will one day shine so bright, the world won't be able to ignore the glow. Keep becoming. Not the version they expect. Not the version they tried to mold or define, but the version your soul has always known. The quiet force, the steady flame, the warrior cloaked in grace. Evolving, not to impress, but to embody the divine potential buried beneath the wounds. Growth isn't always visible. Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it feels like pulling away. Sometimes it sounds like silence, like saying no, like starting over. But all of it, every stretch, every ache, is sacred, because the becoming was never meant to be loud. It was meant to be real. So let them misread you. Let them misjudge your silence for weakness. Let them wonder how you're still standing, how you're still rising with nothing but your soul and your scars. Because what they don't know is that your strength was forged in unseen places, and you're calm. That's not softness, that's control. That's the wisdom of one who has tasted chaos and still chooses clarity. You are not here to follow paths. You are here to blaze them, not to beg for love, but to embody it, not to fight for respect, but to walk in it, because you are the chosen one. Chosen not because you were the loudest, the brightest, or the most popular, but because you were the most willing to endure, willing to learn, willing to carry what would have broken others, and your life. Not your words, not your titles, but your scars, your patience, your stillness under pressure. That is the loudest proof of all. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the mind that is anxious about future events is miserable, but the mind that is anchored, quiet, disciplined, that mind changes the world. So keep walking, keep building, keep becoming, even if no one claps, even if no one sees, because you are chosen, and chosen ones don't need approval, they carry purpose.